What's up again guys, yeah it's me, Dovahkiin, and welcome back to my Elden Ring series. And before we begin, be sure to hit on the subscribe button for more great videos. Okay, my last update was back in episode 52, when I featured the Mohgwyn Palace Blistered Crow farming spot. Then I conquered the Rayalokaria Academy and defeated the second main boss, Rennala, Queen of the Full Moon. Following those was cleaning up all the other bosses and invasions in Liurnia of the Lakes. Then I briefly explored the available areas in the Ainsel and Shifra rivers to kill a few bosses and progress in Witch Ranni's questline. Thereafter, I started my conquest of Caelid, just the south and not Dragon Barrow. Thus, so far, my boss body count is 74 out of 165. But technically, there are 170 bosses in the game. It's just that encountering the others depend on your choices in specific quest lines. Now, back in episode 85, after decimating a duo of Nox bosses in the Sellia town of Sorcery, I got Lusat's Glintstone Staff, the most powerful staff in the game with its unparalleled sorcery scaling. However, it raises the FP cost of all sorceries by 50%. And speaking of staves, I also have the Carian Regal Scepter, because I duplicated Rennala's remembrance in a walking mausoleum. And it is the second most powerful staff, but without mana cost penalties. Yes, some of you may argue that the Regal Scepter is better, because it's obviously more efficient. However, I built my character with the FP cost penalty in mind, so I'm ready for Lusat's staff. Just look at my flask allocation. I have 7 for mana, and they are at plus 7. By the way, right now, that's already plus 8. Anyway, I also have Azure's Glintstone Staff, which I got back in the Academy. And like Lusat's, it also has an FP cost penalty, though lesser at 20%. But instead of sorcery scaling, it excels on casting speed. So, it is part of the conversation when talking about the best staves in the game. When comparing to know which one is for you, bear these in mind. Low cost, low damage, but fast casting spells become deadly with Lusat's. That's why my basic magic glint blades are shredding bosses. On the other hand, high cost, high damage, but slow casting spells become practical with Azure's. And in the middle ground, you have the Regal Scepter. So as per their ideal utility, Lusat's is for bosses and PvP. The Regal Scepter is for exploration, dungeon crawling, or simply your daily staff. And Azure's, like Lusat's, technically is for bosses and PvP as well, but it shines brightest in your offhand when dual wielding staffs, cause its speed buff stacks with a staff on your main hand. You don't even have to upgrade it at all if that is your loadout. But again, my choice is Lusat's, simply because I can manage the increased mana cost. Take note, this is just my first choice, a priority to be exact. If I get sufficient somber smithing stones later in the game, of which by the way is the required upgrade material of these staves, I would definitely max him out as well, starting with a Regal Scepter. And speaking of upgrades, let's not forget my good old trusty but non-upgradable Meteorite Staff. At 80 int and Lusat's at just plus 4, it has already surpassed it in sorcery scaling. By the way, the link to this web tool is in the description. So as soon as I got it, I've boosted it up to +6. For Somber Smithing Stones 1 to 5, I don't remember exactly where, but you'll eventually get a hold of them just by exploring around. As per stone number 6, it was dropped by the Falling Star Beast in the Celia Crystal Tunnel, which I featured back in episode 84. For stones 8 and 9, they are near each other just northeast of the Dragon Barrow West bonfire. You'll get stone number 8 from a teardrop scarab, and stone number 9 lies at the base of the Divine Tower of Caelid, in a corpse surrounded by a circle of chairs. As per stone number 10, or what you call the Somber Ancient Dragon Smithing Stone, you can find one in the Mohgwyn Palace underground region, and I've already detailed how to get there back in episode 52, so just watch that vid. Anyway, the stone is in a chest facing a bunch of worshippers, near the Dynasty Mausoleum midpoint side of Grace, the bonfire before entering the main boss arena. And in case you haven't noticed, I didn't mention stone number 7, because that's the most problematic of them all. You need to get your ass invited into the Volcano Manor in Mount Gelmir by a woman named Raya, who you'll first meet in Liurnia of the Lakes in a pavilion east of the Scenic Isle bonfire. To get her favor, an invitation that is, help her retrieve her stolen necklace. The thief is Blackguard Big Bogard, who is just at the Boiled Prawn Shack at the northwest. He's a merchant, so you don't have to use force, and will gladly sell you Raya's necklace for 1,000 runes. Now you need to get to the Altus Plateau via the Grand Lift of Dectus. But activating that majestic elevator needs the two halves of the Dectus Medallion. The left half is in Fort Height in East Limgrave, and the right half is in Fort Farith in Dragon Barrow. Now let's ride the lift. You'll meet Raya here again, and this time cash in her invitation. So she'll teleport you directly to Lady Tanith, the proprietress of Volcano Manor. Tanith will then offer you to join the family. Just say yes to get the drawing room key. Now these are the relevant sites of Grace in this map, and take note, the Temple of Eagle only appears after beating a boss. Alright, from here on out, just follow me as I beeline this entire level to the location of Somber Smithing Stone 7. Use the key that she gave you on the door at the right. Then go through a wall to a secret passage. And just run down to the cellar. Careful, there's a Bloodhound Knight. Then we arrive at the Prison Town Church bonfire. Go outside to the right and prepare to run past everything. I'm gonna summon Lutel to serve as a distraction. Beware of the Abductor Virgin. Now, jump from the balcony on the left to get onto another balcony. Then, enter the building. Turn left and go down the stairway. In the room on the right is the guest hall side of grace. Head out to the right and just fall down to ground level. By the way, there's a stone number 6 somewhere in this vicinity. Up this path, you will need to eliminate a man-serpent. Then take the elevator. Now get rid of the Black Flame Monk. Okay, we're here at the temple, but depending on how good you are at jumping, you may need to face a boss, the Godskin Noble. But before that, let's raise up the bridge on the left so we'll have a shortcut from the Prison Town Church bonfire. Actually, from the bridge, you can clearly see stone number 7 on a corpse hanging from the balcony, guarded by an Abductor Virgin. You can try to snag it by first jumping on the small bollard, then to the wheel, and then to the balcony. I've tried this dozens of times, but I just can't make it, and I think it was patched. So we have to get there conventionally, and it starts by facing the Godskin Noble. This is quite a difficult boss, but don't worry, cause I got this. Before we beeline to that balcony with a stone number 7, make sure that you have 2 stone sword keys. Alright, let's begin by taking this lift. Then drop down. There's another abductor virgin here, so quickly climb inside the window on the left to avoid serious damage. Beware of the crawling fuckers. They can grab and devour you in an instant. This elevator is a shortcut back to the Temple of Egli, but to access the secret room, get off halfway. Above this ladder are 2 man serpents. Turn left and sprint as fast as you can. Now take the staircase on the right. This is where you'll need the 2 stone sword keys. Before you start platforming, eliminate the mage on the opposite side, because he's gonna give you a hell of a time while descending. Also, there's a bunch of those crawling enemies below, so drop off on the cage beside the wall so you can easily pick them off. And there you go, the abductor on the balcony. Finish it off and just snag stone number 7. Alright, here it is, the maxed out Lusat's Glintstone Staff, with its 413 sorcery scaling at 80 int. By the way, 80 points is the hard cap of the intelligence attribute. Further points beyond that offer very little damage boost and are not worth it. And yes, I'm already level 147. And to update you on my other gear, I'm still using Roger's Rapier plus 14. But instead of the cold affinity, I've chosen magic. So the int scaling of Hoarfrost Stomp went up from C to B. And though the frost buildup passive is gone, it still causes frostbite, but with lesser frequency. But in exchange for that passive, the skill's damage became deadlier. Next is the Full Moon Crossbow, which I got in the Academy. And there's nothing special about it. Just another utility bow with low requirements that I can actually wield. Though it looks cool cause apparently it was designed for a mage. Next is the Queen's Crescent Crown, which I bought from Enya at the Round Table Hold after defeating Renala. And actually, my int is just 77, but this helm adds 3 points, allowing me to reach the hard cap. The good thing about it, unlike the other int boosting helms found in the Academy, this one has no penalties to other stats. Anyway, my mage looks like a fucking Christmas elf wearing it, but that's okay, cause finally I can see his face. Next is the Graven School Talisman, which raises the damage of all sorceries by 4%, and there's a better version of this later in the game. And Radagon's Icon, which boosts casting speed. This is comparable to having 30 points into Dex, the attribute that affects casting speed. By the way, speaking of that, the boost of Azure's Glintstone Staff is comparable to having 40 points into Dex. Now on my Physic mix, I have replaced my Green Spill Crystal tier with a Magic Shrouding Crack tier, which raises the damage of all magic attacks by 20%, 15% in PvP, which is just absolutely insane. Okay, let's go back to attributes for a moment. Earlier, I've mentioned about hard caps, so obviously there are soft caps, wherein there will still be gains beyond that number, but they aren't gonna be as significant as the values before the soft cap. For Vigor, the first soft cap is 40, and I'm already there, so we're good. On Mind, the first soft cap is 50, and that's my target. And finally for Endurance, the second soft cap is 30. So there you go, 20 more levels and my build will be complete. But of course, if I still manage to level up beyond that, they're just gonna go to Int, even if it's hard capped already. Take note, my actual progression in the game is just somewhere at 25%. Cause so far, I've only defeated 2 main bosses, and I'm this strong already. And I don't fucking care about the opinions of Souls purists, cause they only know how to conform. I innovate, and I'm gonna beat their game like it was cakewalk. Anyway, as I've showcased in the beginning, I've already cleared much of Southern Caelid, and the main boss there is my next target, Star Scourge Radahn. So, stay tuned in for the next episode. And that is all there is for now. Thanks for watching. Also check out other videos from Sabbathman Philippines and don't forget to subscribe. See ya on my next vid. Peace out, ya.